Right, once my modifications have been done to the bell housing and the centre coupling, it's possible to change a set of inserts without taking the engine out. And I've made a mock-up here with a spare shaft so that you can see, without the clutch and the flywheel and the back plate being in the bell housing here, you can see exactly how it works. The toolkit is a tiny 1/4" hexagon drive ratchet with an extension made from a long series Allen key, just with some sort of cushion on the end so that you can whack it with your finger. And you'll see that around the outside of the centre coupling I've inserted, and they're in there permanently, they're put in when I do the modification, a ring of Allen screws, not Allen bolts, whatever you like to call them, which you can get the ratchet into in order to just crank the engine round to get in position for each of the fixing bolts. And I can then get the ratchet up into, so just tweaking it around a little bit, get the ratchet into that fixing bolt, give it a sharp blow with the side of my hand. That's enough to slacken it off. I can then get in through that hole. It's a bit fiddly. 2 fingers is all you can get on it. There's the bolt. It's important when you do this to keep these screws absolutely dry and clean. You do not want any sort of fouling on there which is going to cause them to jam up, little bits of grit or anything like that, because it will make it very difficult, as you can see, to get them out just with your fingertips. Having got them out, that retaining plate now can be slid back out of the way, and it just pops up onto the shaft there. At this stage it will be against the face of the aluminium plate that sits in here, and I can now, he said, not having one to hand, just with the use of a little electrical screwdriver, and I'll turn this engine around a bit further so you can see one right at the bottom. I can just get in there. There's a hole in the insert. Pull the insert out and it drops out through the bottom. There's the insert. You can either examine it, or if you think it's damaged, replace it with a new one. Just put it back in from underneath through the inspection hole. A bit fiddly. Just pop that back in like that. When we've done all 4 of them, of course you have to turn the engine over while you're doing it. Just pop the plate back in place. Now this is the worst bit of the job, and you'll find the easiest thing to do is just to put the Allen key in there and use the Allen key to pop it into one of the screwed holes, just to line it up, because you can't see what's going on when you're doing this from underneath the vehicle. Pick a screw up with 2 fingers. In fact, it's very difficult to do this. I'm sitting up in front. It's actually easier with underneath to get the right angle on your fingers. As you can see, very fiddly and awkward. If you've got really small hands, it's easy. If you've got really big hands, you might like to enlist the help of someone with smaller ones. . having got that first one in, don't tighten it right up, because you'll need a little bit of movement in this plate in order to get the rest of them in. Okay, I'm going to go around now and put the rest of the screws in and talk to you a little bit more about it once I've got it back together. Okay, I've now put the rest of the screws back in. I'm just going to show you how to tighten them up again. Get that one around there in line. Just use the ratchet to get it reasonably tight. Pull it back, and then, rather like undoing them, a good blow with the side of your hand is all you need to tighten them up. Don't do them any tighter, because obviously then you're going to have trouble getting them undone again next time. And I have never yet had one of these come undone, and I've done 20 conversions. Mine has done, what are we talking now, 26, 13, 19,000 miles mine has now done, and I've never had one of those screws come undone, so you don't have to worry unduly about that, as long as you give it a good thump with the side of your hand. And another thing to make note of course, when you're doing this, have the spark plugs out, otherwise you won't be able to turn the engine over. If you do have difficulty turning the engine over, this one is quite a tight one. My one is very free, mine has a lot of miles on the clock. If you do have problems and you can't get that to move, then you can always put the vehicle in gear and just rock it backwards and forwards, although you'll have it up on the axle stands. You could give it a little dab with the starter motor, but keep your fingers out of the way when you do it. But I find with my one, I managed to get them to turn and go all the way around just using the ratchet, and I can do a change like that in 20 minutes plus.